Ladies and gentlemen, as you guys know, this week has been huge for Call of Duty. Yesterday, we had, of course, the multiplayer reveal for Call of Duty Vanguard. Later tonight, we have Season 5 Reloaded going live. Dexter ate off a piece of my hat earlier today. Why, I don't know. And it's been a busy couple days. But as I promised yesterday, I wanted to make a video kind of going over my honest opinions, the truth regarding the beta for Call of Duty Vanguard. And I've watched a lot of people's videos on this topic, and a lot of the things people are saying I agree with, and a lot of things people are saying I actually disagree with, and I wanted to get my opinion out there and specifically wanted to hear your guys' opinion. Now, of course, a lot of you, most of you have not played the game yet. However, you've seen a lot of gameplay and you will be playing it this weekend if you have PlayStation, next weekend if you do not have PlayStation. And once you guys get your hands on the game or even just watching the gameplay, I want your guys' opinions on the various different things that I'm going to talk about in this video. I'm going to give some good things that I really liked, some bad things that I didn't like, and some things that I am just simply worried about. One of which being how similar certain aspects are to Modern Warfare that I particularly didn't like. And it's interesting because I hear people all over the place right now. Right now, the Vanguard opinion is very positive, and I think it should be. I want to get that out of the way right away. From what I played, it was the most fun I had playing a multiplayer Call of Duty in a really long time, which has me very excited. However, there are some things I am worried about, and I wanted to talk about those. The good news is most of those things that I'm worried about can be fixed relatively easily. So, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, these are my opinions on the Call of Duty Vanguard beta. So I've really debated a lot on how I wanted to do this video, and you're going to see various gameplay throughout this on various different maps and things like that. But the way I wanted to split it up is having specific topics in different areas of the video. I'm going to start out by talking about the gameplay in and of itself. Then we are going to dive into the maps. Then we are going to talk about the creator class and certain perks and kill streaks that I have worries about. And then I'm going to finish off the video simply by talking about the things that I am specifically worried about that I didn't cover throughout the rest of the video. But first, I think the best place to start this is with the gameplay. So talking about gameplay is probably the easiest portion that we'll talk about in this video, because this is the thing that Call of Duty Vanguard absolutely nails. If you played Modern Warfare 2019, this game will feel most similar to that, as it is using the same engine. The movement feels very similar, it feels fluid, the gunplay feels fluid, and this is the thing that feels fantastic in this game. Now, the other things that we're going to talk about, like the maps and the creator class, are what expands on that and takes it from the next level after Modern Warfare 19, and some of the good and the bad things come out of that. Now, there are some worries that I have with the gameplay. First of all, mounting and blind firing aren't really my favorite thing because I think it lends to camping a little bit too much. Now, when I played the game, it was against a lot of streamers, YouTubers, and pros, and because of that, there was a little bit less camping, but my worries are still there when it comes to the game actually being fully released and even in the beta. Now, there are some things that they do to counteract that. So the way that they combat that is with combat pacing. So there's tactical, which is your normal 6v6 normal Call of Duty, assault, which has a little bit more players, and then blitz, which is absolutely crazy, and we'll dive into that in a minute. Now, with this, it is played on the normal maps that you were seeing gameplay of here. All they do is up the player count, more like traditional ground war in previous Call of Duty games, which is something that I actually really like, because it feels more like traditional Call of Duty. They're not putting you on these giant maps where you see less action, less gunfights. They're just throwing you on the same maps that you know, and there is way more people on them, which makes it just crazy. So if you're in the mood for a more tactical feel, you don't feel like getting in gunfights every 2 seconds, you can play your normal tactical. If you want to go crazy and want to be a pub stomper, Blitz is probably for you, which I think is absolutely awesome, and it's very easy to filter out these different game modes. Now, I don't know how that's going to work with matchmaking. That is something we'll have to wait and test out once it actually comes out. Now, when I originally heard this, I didn't like the sound of it, but essentially what it makes you able to do is choose exactly how fast of a game you want to play in on the maps. And that's the thing I wanted to talk about next. And this is one of the bigger things that I'm going to talk about, the maps. So I had to record this portion of the video twice because I kind of started disagreeing with my own opinion halfway through. Now, I want to start off by saying the best part about the maps in this game are how different they are. First off, you have Red Star, which you've been watching for the majority of this video, which takes place in Russia. It's one of the biggest maps that we played, and with it, there's a lot of different areas that you can explore. After this, we have Gavatu, or however you say it, Gavutu, and this one takes place on a Pacific island. You then have Hotel Royale, which takes place on the roof of a building. There's a lot of interior areas. SMGs are very good. And then finally, we have the small map that we played, which is Eagle's Nest. It takes place on top of a kind of mountain inside of a very small building, very close quarters combat. With each of these, they look very different, they play very different, and that is a fantastic thing. If you look back to older Call of Duty games, all of them that were successful, the one that comes to my mind is Modern Warfare 2. Each map had its different motif. There were some snowy maps, there were some kind of jungly maps, there were some desert maps, and because of this, there was a lot of diversity in everything that you played. It made each game different, and that is exactly what they are doing in this game. Now, this ties into the thing that I didn't like as much, and it's kind of hard to explain. So the first time that I played on Red Star, it is a very large map. However, I was playing in the tactical playlist, which is the 6v6 playlist, and the map felt slow. It didn't feel bad, it didn't feel like a bad map, it just felt like I was sometimes struggling to find players. And keep in mind, I'm playing with streamers, YouTubers, pro players who generally play very aggressively, and I was still having trouble finding people. Later on, I played Blitz on this map, and all of a sudden something clicked in my head saying, okay, I get it now. This map is very clearly designed for these higher player count playlists. And once we go to something like Eagle's Nest, which is a very small map, this one is very clearly designed for more 6v6 style combat. Now, the cool thing is if you want to play in that Blitz playlist, the amount of players in your lobby will actually change based off of the map you are playing, which I'm not 100% sure how that's going to work with matchmaking, but is a really cool idea, and if it works properly with matchmaking, I think it's going to work extremely well. So I went from this kind of mindset of these big maps I don't like to, okay, I get these big maps and they absolutely have a place in the game. And to me, this is a much better idea to do it this way than to do it another way like Modern Warfare did, where they had Ground War as a separate playlist with its own maps that were very large, and because of that, there were less maps overall in the game. Whereas this one, essentially, there's going to be 16 maps right at launch, which you can decide how fast you want to be playing on these maps, which I think is amazing. Now, they've also announced that they're adding some throwback maps like Castle and Dome from Call of Duty World at War, which I think are two of the best maps in that game, which are smaller maps, which is great for me to hear, and I'm looking forward to actually playing those. But all in all, I have to say the map design is very good so far. It's just going to be how they implement the different player counts and how that follows through at the end. Now, the other game mode that I played is something called Patrol. Essentially, this is hardpoint, but instead of the hardpoint moving to different locations, the entire hardpoint is just constantly on the move. I liked this because it made it so that the spawn flips more frequently. On Gavutu, however you say it, I also played Domination, which the spawns did not flip at all, and when that happened, I didn't like the map as much as when I played it on Patrol. So it's also going to be interesting to see how the different game modes work in various different game styles like Tactical and Blitz. That will take more time to figure out, but all in all, as far as the map goes, I love the diversity and it makes it very interesting with the different play styles. So as far as Create a Class goes, I'm going to keep this very simple. There's just a couple things I'm worried about with Create a Class and a couple of things I like. First of all, Gunsmith is back. I like that. However, there's 10 total attachments that you can use on every single weapon. That has me worried because I feel like that'll be very hard to balance weapons and will be a lot of work for the developers, but only time will tell for that, and that's on them basically at that point. The rest of the Create a Class is relatively simple. One thing I am worried about is in this current build of the game, there isn't that many kill streaks. There's a lot of room for them to add more. We also know the V2 rockets there, so we'll have to wait and see, but as of right now, those are pretty limited, and the top kill streak's only 10 kills. And the biggest thing with kill streaks is they do not loop. So what I mean by that is if you have dogs on, you get 10 kills, you call in your kill streak, that life is pretty much done. You have to die to get your next kill streak. I don't like that. I like being able to loop kill streaks, and that's kind of a way of counteracting pub stompers just staying alive the whole game and getting streaks over and over again. I don't like that. I hope that changes. We'll have to wait and see. The other one is the radar. So this could have fallen into gameplay as well, but if you didn't already know, the radar works like Modern Warfare. So in Modern Warfare, people didn't show up on the minimap if they shot an unsilenced weapon. However, there's a second perk in this game that allows your radar to work properly, in which people who fire their weapons then show up on your radar. What this means is pretty much every single class that I have is going to have that as a second perk always. It's just super important to know where people are, and to not have that on is a big deterrent to me. I don't like that whatsoever, and I would much prefer see the minimap work properly, get rid of that perk, and it would make more diversity in the actual classes that you could use, because as of right now, in my opinion, that is 100% a crutch perk. Then the final thing is Dead Silence. Dead Silence is once again back as a field upgrade. If you're wondering, footsteps in this game are relatively quiet compared to especially Black Ops Cold War, so they're a little bit more difficult to hear. You can hear people breaking through doors, breaking objects, but the footsteps themselves are pretty quiet. However, Dead Silence is still a field upgrade. I'm assuming it's gonna, I didn't use it, so I can't say this for sure, but I'm assuming it speeds up your movement like it did in Modern Warfare, and I just don't know how I feel about that one. I do still like Dead Silence as a perk, but again, it falls into that crutch perk area, so I'm not saying that that's a bad thing at this point. I'm just not sure about it. So as far as a final opinion on this, basically everything we heard yesterday about the multiplayer just improves my opinion. They were doing things with the operators where they're adding in backstories. You can level up your operators, which just adds more gameplay. I love to see that. We haven't seen that since Black Ops 3 with the different operators or specialists there. So that is fantastic. On top of this, they are adding things in like clans, which we haven't seen in a really long time. And it seems like they're just putting all of their effort into making this game as most replayable as possible, which I love to see. Now, based off of the gameplay and the weapon leveling and things like that, there's going to be a lot to do in this game, which is fantastic. For the most part, I am not concerned about this game whatsoever, and I think it's going to be a ton of fun to play at launch, and I'm really excited to get back into playing multiplayer alongside Warzone, because it's something I haven't really loved within Black Ops Cold War. Now, do I have concerns about this game? Yeah, absolutely. I don't like crutch perks, so that radar perk has me really worried. I don't like having to use the same things on all of my classes. It makes things bland, and I don't like that, and that's one thing that I'm worried about. Now, we're gonna have to wait to see how the game actually plays once the general public gets their hands on, so the beta will be the first test of that. I am worried about camping a little bit. There's just some big camping spots on certain parts of the map, and on top of that, with mounting and blind firing and things like that, things I don't necessarily love. I don't know how that's going to work, and with footsteps. So all of those things, though, they often change during betas and at the launches of games, so that is a thing that time will tell. But as my general impression and my final thoughts on what I have played, I think we're in for a very, very good year of Call of Duty. But as I said at the beginning of the video, let me know what you think. Let me know what your opinions are. I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to hit that like button. If you like what you see, want to stay up to date on all my videos, be sure to subscribe, turn notifications on, and as always, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, peace out.
You should take it slow.